One of you will be a pickle, one of you will be a tomato, and one of you will be the olive. Okay? So decide on your roll. All right, olives, raise your hand. Olives, raise your hand. You are the leader of the group. You are the leader of the group. Okay? At the beginning of the lesson, I assign each student a role in a way that's engaging and non-threatening. This is a form of differentiation, and as the lesson progresses, I reveal each step one at a time. You have a stem. In front of you, you have a stem, Olives. And I want you to select one character from the lottery and as a group, complete that stem. You have 3 minutes. Go.
So the Tessie and then what she wanted? She wanted more than one. Yeah, she wanted more time.
She wanted more time to choose.
But what was the problem? She couldn't get it. Or she wasn't allowed. Yeah, they weren't allowed. And then the solutions, she got stoned. Yeah, they threw rocks at her. Okay, and then the ending was she died. And was the sacrifice, yeah?
Yeah, she was the sacrifice for the lottery.
Or like to their gods or something. That's why they did it in the first place.
No,
But it never says
that was
just our
Alexis's
experts.
entry on it.
Oh, okay.
During the next step of the lesson, each group was given a stem or a sentence frame to work with. Students were also allowed to select the character of their choice from the short story. This allowed each group to have some ownership in the discussion and perhaps made them feel a little less intimidated than if I had chosen the character for them to speak about. The next thing, I also place a little bit of a time constraint on the class. This encourages them to have some increased rigor and accountability during their discussion. You may have noticed that I discreetly chose to remove a hood from one of my students. That was based on the relationship that I have with this student. It is a policy at our school that they not wear head coverings. However, I didn't want to make a big issue of it and disrupt instruction in the class.
Wanted to protect his town from hardships, but none of the townspeople were willing to directly volunteer. So the lottery was formed as a fair way to select a sacrifice. Then Tessie singled out to be killed in honor of what we assumed is their pagan.
Okay. I wonder why they if there's any symbolism behind them not using wood chips anymore and going to paper, like they're going towards a more temporary thing, because paper's more temporary than wood chips.
I don't know. It said in the story that they were doing it because they were getting accumulated and they were so maybe it was just a space thing, because the box in the picture, it doesn't look like a very big box. So it could be just like the amount of space in the box.
I have a question for you.
The pickle, or the student who was providing the answer, had just collected the group's first draft to complete the provided sentence stem. the leader, or the olive, now reads it to the evaluator, the tomato. That student, the tomato, or the evaluator, has then been directed to use another stem to create questions that will refine the group's final response. You'll notice in the video that the students look over their shoulders to one of my bulletin boards. On that bulletin board, there are a variety of accountable talk sentence stems. I try to use resources in my classroom that will help the students with accountable talk or the standards we are covering. In this particular instance, the student could have also used the stems "I have a question about," or another example of that is, "Or could you say more about?" Okay, tomatoes. Tomatoes. You are going to share with the whole group what your analysis of the text was, okay? So, tomatoes, you're my reporters. And we're going to start in the back, okay? Who's my tomato? Tell me about what you guys talked about.
We talked about in our group. Yeah, we talked about how the boy how like the boy ran home after like he found out that. I'm sorry. Okay. After the boy found out about who like won or whatever the lottery and stuff, and we talked about
I'm going to come back to your group, okay? Taylor's group, let me hear about the tomatoes. What do the tomatoes have to say?
They discussed the evidence of why she didn't want what she wanted, and she wanted more time so that she could, because she felt like she got like cheated with like how she got picked, and she didn't want to be picked when everyone raised their hand. She had the black dot on her paper, and she felt like she got cheated because she didn't have enough time, and she was like the last person in, and she just didn't want to be picked because she died when she did that.
And who was your character?
Tessie.
Tessie. Alex's group.
Alright. They were talking about, they basically agreed with Taylor's group. They were talking about through Tessie's situation, how she felt like she was cheated and that her husband shouldn't have been picked. So they decided like, hey, we're going to redo the whole lottery, but it's going to be within your family. And so when they did it, it was found out that she was the one who was had the black dot. Probably they did it on purpose. That's why I'm thinking that, because how she basically complained through the whole situation, and she didn't like that. So after that, she got choosing. In the end, she got stoned.
One of the things I noticed while I was walking around, when you were evaluating your pickle and your olive, what was the one thing that you told your pickle and your olive that they needed to add to their conversation?
The accountable talk.
And?
More like distinct vocabulary.
Good. I'm going to come back to my tomato. All right, let's go.
We talked about how the boy went back to his father who was at home, and how he told the father about who like won the lottery or whatever. And we talked about how that, like, you know how this was like written after World War II, and how like messengers would go back and come back to America and talk about like what's going on in the war, and how it didn't when he went to his dad, it didn't really affect, like, that people weren't going to do anything about it. And it kind of related to how, I guess he was talking about how people in World War II, when the messengers came back, they didn't really do anything about it or whatever. It didn't really affect them much, so they just kind of let it continue.
Very good. In this segment, the tomato or the evaluator is reporting what the group discussed. I was surprised to see that when I called on the first student, she really struggled to respond. I think she was overwhelmed by having a guest and a camera in the classroom. I went to 2 other groups before returning to her. You will notice her group in the background diligently coaching her to a better answer. When the 3rd student reports, I recognized her answer as being high level and detailed. My question to her as the evaluator was about what kind of information she asked her group to consider when improving or refining their answer. In the end, both of these are great examples of differentiation. The student who struggled was asked to improve with a coming back to you strategy, and the more confident student was challenged to reflect on how they arrived at the exemplary answer and how it was improved through group student talk.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love.